In the last episode, we battled the Coven in the putrid Khazra den in search of the broken blade. Yet again, we're nearly thwarted by the Coven's leader, Magda.
Well fought, but you will never possess the next piece. It has fallen where only the ancients may tread.
She is more devious than she appears.
Cormac is right. We can't help but think that we're being led and doing Magda's bidding unwittingly. Still, with the sword shard in hand, we hurry back to Leah, noticing that the strange blue glowing hue that had emanated from the sword seems to have abated in the town of New Tristram.
Their leader, Magda, said the next piece fell where only ancients may tread.
That makes me think of the drowned temple near the festering woods. I remember you telling me about it, Uncle.
Exactly, Leah. The temple was home to the Nephalem. Leah, your knowledge could be invaluable. You must go and help our friend retrieve the sword piece.
The Nephalem were ancient humans with fantastic powers. Legend holds that they waged a terrible battle near the temple, and that their ghosts still war with one another.
Some power, it seems, is too great for man. Speaking of which, we turn to the stranger once more, curious about the power in which his sword holds, and he recalls.
I sense power in this twisted metal.
Indeed, it feels familiar to me, though the rest is still unclear.
This is the weapon of a man with strong convictions.
Is that what I was? Then what am I without my convictions?
Whatever you have forgotten is not lost. It will be restored.
We can sense a greatness in the man and of the reforging of his weapon. We hope that it will help reforge his faith as we head with our new party, led by Leah, into the field of misery. And she says,
You and I aren't so different. I have great power within me too. The only difference is, I have no control over mine.
Then you have not yet found your calling.
I hope I never do. The power is so great that, I don't know, it scares me.
We too can sense a burgeoning power in Leah, but don't quite understand it. She seems like such a sweet girl, and quite handy by our side as we clear out the wood raids.
A well-deserved death.
It's then we happen upon a morbid sight. A villager lies dead, crumpled on the ground, and in the midst of the village are Moon Clan warriors in a ritual. They only stir because we had interrupted their dark gathering, which is turned into a bloodbath. We step over the fresh bodies littered about, and on top of the mound, it looks to be a sacrificial site and a chest that they were guarding. After plundering its contents, then we find villagers splayed about, and carrion demons are picking clean the corpses as the village burns. The field really lives up to its name. A savage beast then spots us and becomes enraged by our trespassing. It beats its chest angrily, but it doesn't help. Its body burns under the holy light, and we see that it was guarding a stolen sack. Inside is a diary from a scoundrel, which reads,
After much searching, I have found a promising lead. A family near New Tristram has obtained a valuable relic, and poor fools that they are, they haven't the slightest idea what to do with it. I have some idea of what to do with their daughter, though. And through her, I'll get my prize.
As if demons weren't bad enough, man's greed never ceases to amaze, and it's then a man stops us in the road.
You there! Please help! They're going to kill my friend!
We try and tell the man to stop for a moment so that we can understand the situation. He seems to be bound, but further presses.
Thieves are going to kill my friend if we don't do something. Help me break these bonds and see for yourself.
What do they want with your friend?
She's just a farmer's daughter, Sasha, but she has a relic that the thieves are after.
He's deserted you. Just give it over.
My sweet love will save me.
Inside the ramshackle village, we find a woman in a blue dress who is being accosted by 3 brigands. One is waving his dagger in her face as he tells his companions,
Nigel will have our hearts if we don't find this thing.
We don't know who Nigel is, but maybe we'll find out.
Release the girl. The relic belongs to her.
You actually believe what this scoundrel tells you? Fine, you fools. We'll kill the both of you.
All 3 brigands then set upon us and a scuffle breaks out. The poor girl in the blue dress is stuck in between as the scoundrel lobs his arrows from his crossbow from behind. However, the battle seems to have just begun as more brigands pour forth from the building to the east, reinforced by their leader, Nigel Cutthroat himself.
You won't get away from us this time!
This time? Amidst the chaos, we're momentarily confused. What would he mean this time? But it's then we realize we 100% have been had and caught in whatever petty plot that this scoundrel had dragged us into. We almost would consider negotiating if Nigel Cutthroat wasn't such a deadly foe and the world would probably be better without him. And for the safety of the poor girl. We're gonna have words with that scoundrel when this is over.
This isn't over. The rest of the Thieves' Guild will find you.
With that threat of the Thieves' Guild coming after us, Nigel Cutthroat is dead. And like clockwork, we find the scoundrel by the farmer's daughter, and she reveals the fate of the relic, saying,
Here's the relic, my love. I hid it like you asked. Father's grown suspicious of us, but that won't matter once we're married. It won't be long, right?
Of course, my dear. Soon we will settle down to a quiet life of tilling the fields and raising children. But first, I have to sell this relic. Alas, I must travel away with my friend here to do so.
You wish to join my crusade? It's a hard path.
Yes, absolutely. The way is hard and all that. Shall we go?
Unfortunately for the scoundrel, he has a sudden discovery.
Wait. The relic is a fake! Gods, I should have known. You seem like you could use a helping hand, and I sure as hell don't want to stay around here.
Please tell me that you're not considering this criminal's proposal.
Although Cormac does make a really good case. It seems the scoundrel is a criminal and cannot be trusted. However, we seem to think that perhaps the fates have brought him to us. As we head east, we find a broken bridge and water is coming down from the north, so the drowned temple must be in that direction. As suspected, we find the drowned temple and a waypoint back to town. It should be noted that we will flesh out the scoundrel's story further, but for now, he introduces himself before we send him back to town.
What of your betrothed?
Betrothed? Do I look like the marrying kind to you? By the way, my name is Lyndon.
We then turn to the massive drowned temple. Leah begins to regale us of her future dream of owning an inn, but is immediately caught off guard at the sheer scope of the temple as she explains.
When this is over, I could open my own little inn somewhere.
What the tomes say of Alaric and this temple is not encouraging.
Yes, learning about her inn has to wait. And as we head down the massive stairs of the temple, we see a ghost surrounded by dead bodies. And it beckons to us. Leah seems undisturbed, saying,
You must be Alaric the Guardian. Uncle Deckard told me of your eternal watch over this cursed place. I thought it was a myth.
Are you Nephalem?
No. There have been no Nephalem for a millennium.
Yet another myth. You seek entrance to this temple, but only a Nephalem can enter. If you retrieve the keys from the outlying tombs, and use them on the gates, we will see who and what you truly are. Follow me. I will raise the bridge that you may pass.
And so we follow the ghost up the stairs to a secret bridge.
Seek 2 tombs in the woods beyond. The Warrior's Rest and the Crypt of the Ancients. Within them reside the keys to our sacred temple.
The ghost trudges off, leaving us to find these keys to the Warrior's Rest and the Ancient's Temple. We cannot help but think this may be outside of the purview of Cormac's duties, and, fearing for his safety, we send him back to town.
Honor, always.
With fewer numbers, it means fewer potential victims if we cannot make the criteria of the Nephalem. We head into the festering woods as crumbling bones are sinking into the ground. The dead themselves rise to meet us.
They won't get us!
Drink his blood.
Are these Alaric's people?
No.
We've been warned of the Nephalem and the ancient battlegrounds, but this seems to be something else entirely. Demonic, in essence, a plague carrier's nest springs forth to send out its seed and try and end our search prematurely. To the north, we find the Crypt of the Ancients, but it looks more like a mining tunnel as we see equipment scattered about. Upon entering, we're immediately met with a gaggle of undead. Whatever the return to guarding, we can't imagine that someone's life was worth the risk.
This is amazing. It reminds me of being a child and searching for lost artifacts with Uncle Deckard.
Wow, what a childhood. No wonder Lee is looking to own an inn. And we thought the crusade was a hard life. Heading around the eastern side of the pit in the center that the miners were extracting whatever it was before that they were overwhelmed by the undead, we then find a super unique and arcane enchanted Alot Chompfang. We would find the name somewhat humorous in normal circumstances if it wasn't for his plague carriers overwhelming us, arcane beams burning our kidneys.
I'm injured.
We yell out to Leah as we head down a ramp and pull a new mob of undead. Making haste, we run past the arcane beams and gather as many health globes as we can muster, turning to face Alot Chompfang on our terms. Taunting his allies into a cluster, we hit him with a shield bash that sends them reeling. Clearing up the rest of the denizens of the mine, we then head north, finding a beacon of light sitting atop a pedestal. One down, we just have the beacon of honor from the Warrior's Rest to go. Heading west, it's not long until we find the Warrior's Rest, which is very different from the Crypt of the Ancients. The Rest itself is a large, sprawling cavern. Below the natural, narrow walkway belies a city which must have belonged to the Ancients. We can only see in the distance. So then we're accosted by a group of ancient returned that seem to be guarding the beacon as their brethren did as well. Plague carriers swarm us, and again arcane beams burst to life, rotating laconically as we're peppered by arrows. The source of the arrows is Ufir, Mangler of Heroes, and it seems that this ancient is also arcane enchanted and guarding the beacon of light. Gather what we can of the corpse and pluck the beacon from its resting place. We then remember Leah's inn.
Leah, tell me more about your inn.
The world is so dangerous. Everybody needs a quiet, safe place to rest and recover. A way station on their journeys.
You will make a fine innkeeper.
If I survive this mess.
We realize that nothing in life is actually guaranteed, but entering the festering woods once more, we sincerely hope Leah gets her wish. Back at the drowned temple, we place the beacon on the pedestals. As we do so, a hidden door is revealed behind Alaric, and we speak to the spirit once more who guides.
The temple is open. Enter and defeat the guardians within. Although they are my brothers, they will seek your death when you enter.
Cautiously, we enter the drowned temple, ready for a battle against the ancient guardians.
Look at this architecture. This predates the Sin War.
Leah's fascination with the architecture is stifled immediately by returned guardians, ready to stamp out any unwanted interlopers. The temple itself, although impressive, is living up to its name as it's drowned and we're forced to fight ankle deep in water. Further up the hallway, we encounter a skeleton nearly double the size of an ordinary man.
None may enter the inner sanctum.
His name is Ezek, the prophet, dragging his large two-handed axe. It's clear that he's weary from his years guarding the drowned temple. But why? What's so important to these ancient Nephalem? If they are indeed our forebears, shouldn't they welcome us?
Rise, my brothers! Rise and do battle!
Well, that answers that. The ancients obviously covet their secrets, as Brother Moek, Brother Laryl, and Brother Harold are re-risen to test us once more. Realizing we're no match for the brothers as a trio, we proceed with our final gambit. Racing back to the dilapidated bridge, we hope to contend with them single file and even out the odds. Outfaced with a final blow on Brother Laryl, quickly realize he may have the last laugh. His corpse explodes in a brilliant plume. Call upon heaven's might with our falling sword and land on both brothers. Moek falls and Carol meets our shield.
And this Chaldean.
It smelled of brothels and ale.
Even so, it was full of trade and new ideas. There was always something exciting to see.
With the brothers felled, Leah then admits she misses Chaldeum. After visiting Chaldeum, we realize she's probably not a fan of this drowned temple. It's then we speak to Alaric once more.
Your strength rivals that of our greatest champions. What now do you think you are? You may enter our most sacred place.
Although we don't understand what we are or how we face the trials, as we never would believe we're Nephalem, especially as we don't meet the height requirement. What we do know is that we are, and forever will be, Crusaders of the Light. It's then Da reappears.
The noble hero fought his way here just to die.
I admire your persistence.
And who is this you bring with you? Adria's daughter? She has power within her. No matter. Your mother will soon share your fate, little one. The shard is mine. Fill this temple with their blood!
This pace, we're almost saddened by the fact that Magda thought her pathetic coven could do more than slow us down, but realize they needed us to access the temple as they were no Nephalem.
This fight was too easy. She's toying with us. We must get back to Uncle Deckard right away.
Heeding Leah's words, we extract the glowing shard from the crater. Make our way back to New Tristram post-haste. With a moment of respite, we ask Leah about the drowned temple as she seemed to know much about its architecture and history.
The drowned temple was once known as the Sarsium Emporis. It was the most sacred of their temples, a site where legend claims angels would come to impart their wisdom to the Nephalem.
We then inquire about Leah's childhood as her mother was mentioned, but instead she talks about Cain, saying,
Uncle Deckard and I traveled all over the world in my youth, looking for lost lore and artifacts. It was so exciting, crawling around ancient temples.
Leah, mid-explanation, runs to her uncle and we realize this may become a habit. If we then query Cain about his adventures with Leah and what it was like taking her around the big dangerous world when she was a child, he says,
You raised Leah during your travels, but the road is a dangerous place for a child.
Not as dangerous as you might think. There was a calm about the world then. Most people paid no mind to an old man and young girl, weaponless and penniless, crossing their lands.
Return a sword piece to the stranger, we asked Cain about the Nephalem, as we believed they were gone with the World Stone.
The World Stone was an ancient artifact of immense power. It was used not only to create our world, but also to control mankind. The original humans were known as the Nephalem, and their power was such that it was feared they would tip the balance in the eternal conflict between the high heavens and the burning hells. So the World Stone was tuned to lessen our powers, turning mankind into what we are today. But now that it has been destroyed, it is conceivable that the powers of the Nephalem will reappear.
So we were wrong. The World Stone was used to dampen the Nephilim's powers. But what happened then if the World Stone itself was destroyed?
Tyrael was forced to destroy the World Stone when Baal, the Lord of Destruction, corrupted it in his attempt to control all of mankind.
Unfortunate.
It obliterated Mount Ariat, the mountain that housed it, leaving only a smoking crater in its place. And nothing has been heard from Tyrael since.
It's then we finally turn to the stranger and present to him his missing sword piece, leaving only the final piece, said to be the missing hilt.